Hi, and welcome back to Maybe Movies and our Halloween matchup of The Witch and Colour Out of Space. If you've been following us so far, you'll know that at the end of last episode, we finished off our new version of The Witch, which I got wrong. It's not a New England fairy tale, it's a New England folk tale, which is what I thought it was, but for some reason...
I thought so, but then I thought, no, you tend to research these things better than I do, and I may have just not paid attention.
No, that was my bad. I was a bit crap. Sorry.
Oh well.
So this week, and next week as well, we'll be looking at the other side of it, so how the witch fares in the 21st century.
Should be fun.
Before we do, as we tend to do, a couple of things to go over with you. If you've been following us, certainly this month, then you'll know that last Friday was the 4th birthday of Zadram itself as a company. To celebrate that, what we're doing all this month is we're running a competition for our subscribers.
Prizes!
Yep. All you have to do to be in the draw is to subscribe to the channel and then send us your email address and your contact details to our email address, which is contact@zadram.com, which will be on the screen somewhere. And also obviously in the description as well. Exactly. He's trying to throw me off. He's doing this on purpose. He just wants more screen time for himself. Just a reminder of the prizes. So once the competition is over at the end of the month, we will be drawing names at random, and the 5 winners will receive their choice of a copy of either Verboten, which was my grandfather's first novel, published originally in 1940, and is obviously now back, as you can see, or my late father's first novel, which is a children's book, called The Refugees of Daffodil from...
Do you want to start again?
I think I will. The Refugees from Daffodil Cottage. There will be links to our website where you can have a look at the books and see a bit more about what they're about, so you can make your decision, your choice as to which one you'd rather have. And of course, just for super security, just to remind everybody and to reassure everybody that the details that you send us for the competition, once the competition is over, all of those things will be deleted. We will not be slamming you with marketing stuff that you don't want and don't need for the rest of your lives, because that would just be a bit shit, really.
Yes, it would.
Yeah. In terms of shout-outs from myself, this week is a shout-out to another YouTube content creator. There's a group called Nerdarchy, who do lots of mostly again D&D stuff or general role-playing stuff. And I came across them recently because I GM a Marvel Phase Rip, the 80s Marvel role-playing game, which Sam is one of the players for. And unfortunately, because of the current situation, we've not really been able to do anything much with it. So kind of feeling a bit starved, I found that they did 2 seasons of live role-playing of them playing the game, which I've been watching, which just finished watching the first season and started just on the second season, and it's brilliant. And so if you are into RPG stuff and you like watching people playing it and you know the Marvel game, then do check it out. Again, I will put a link to their channel in the description. I think that's about all I've got to say. Have you got anything?
Yes. Actually, a few friends of mine recently made a lockdown-themed short film called Stay, which with any luck will be up on Amazon Prime for viewing from, I think, the 23rd of October. So please do go and check it out. It'll be free with Amazon membership. And if you're interested in anything else they've done or anything they might do in the future, please check out AKA Freelancing on Twitter or Instagram for more information.
It is really good, actually. I have seen it. You sent it to me, didn't you?
Yeah.
So yeah, do check it out. And I think we can go back into our not so icy chamber of horrors.
It's Halloween time!
Every time. And the best bit is I never quite know when you're going to do it. So
I'm never going to get bored with it. I'll tell you that much.
I think our nameless effigy might want to do a spot of reading.
Yes, when he
That's terrible. That's terrible product placement. I know it's own product, but it's product placement nonetheless, and that's. We'll put these down here, out of the way. So, as I recall, last time we had finished our new version of The Witch.
Yes.
Which worked out.
I was genuinely pleased with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We managed to iron out all the problems pretty effectively, really.
Yeah, definitely.
And now we've got to look at the other side. So this will be taking The Witch and Baby Sam.
And Baby Samuel, yes, we did say. Yes, we did. Oh, this is going to...
I know.
Well, let's face it, nobody comes out of these stories good. Or
No.
happy, or whole, or sane.
Or in most cases alive.
Yes.
And plonking them into the 21st century.
Yes. Now, I will gotta say this. At this point, we need to have a conversation about the witch.
Okay.
More specifically, her craft, her magic.
Mhm.
Because we need to talk about what it can do. At the moment, we're talking about a drastically different scenario from the 16th century setting that we had in the original version of The Witch.
Mhm.
We have closer by communities. Well, no, actually, no, that's not true. I do believe the closest community is like 16 miles, so not that close.
But they have cars, they have telephones, they have televisions. They are not isolated in nearly the same way.
Yeah.
And so therefore the question arises, what exactly can the witch's magic affect? Of course, it never has to come up in the folktale version of the witch because there was no such technology.
No.
So I think we need to deal with this now because otherwise it's just going to be a constant conversation throughout the story.
It is a difficult one because it's a Hollywood trope, especially it's a Hollywood horror trope that most things that are of a supernatural nature can have some effect on technology.
It's not an unheard of trope.
Yeah, and render it.
Are you suggesting we take full advantage of that trope and just move on?
Because it will cover most of the sins
It will do.
or problems that might occur.
But I understand the problem that you mean is her power, is her understanding and her ability as limited to what it would have been in her original story? Or do we make allowance for the fact that somebody who is a witch in this day and age would have the wherewithal to work around those things? That her magic or are we just saying that her magic is purely as it is in the original film, which I don't think it can be, because from what I understand, magic, like anything, evolves to the needs of the society that it's being used in. That's certainly how it's portrayed in most.
Oh yeah,
cinematic
most magical
versions.
practices have evolved, or new practices have emerged to take advantage of new paradigms.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Nice. But yeah, I think it has to be. I can't see another way around it.
Yeah. Okay. So magic effects technology.
Yes.
It's easy. It's a pretty straightforward one. Especially, I didn't think, of course, that it is a trope.
In fact, narratively, we don't have to worry about it because it doesn't matter really what her magic can affect, because you've also got plunked right into that is you've got Black Phillip. So if she's not
Well,
doing
yes,
it,
but I mean, oh right, well, yes, okay, but what I mean to say is
The magic within the story, we need to define its parameters.
really,
I mean, the witch is merely an agent of Black Phillip,
yes.
after all.
So anything else that we may struggle to think, well, would she be able to do that? We can simply say, well, it's Black Phillip. If Black Phillip is Satan, then he can do pretty much whatever he wants.
oh, so we're saying that Satan can do anything.
We know this is a question.
Yes.
It has to be answered.
Oh yeah.
It has to be answered. That's what I mean. Because that's what I mean when I was asking about defining the magic. Yes, we're talking about Black Phillip as well. We're talking
Yes.
about all of the supernatural within the story.
Yeah.
What are its? Does it have limitations?
I imagine that his limitations are similar to what they're in the film. It's about coercion and about being.
Well, yeah, traditionally the devil never acts; he
No.
simply persuades.
He simply persuades, and that's how he affects people. But things, material, but technology.
But a witch can act,
Yes.
which is why the devil traditionally gives power to witches, so they might
So
soak
they're
their
like,
heads.
yes, and he just stands by and watches.
Of course.
But that doesn't mean. But he would still have agency over the environment, and that includes also the environment, which includes electricity, which by extension means most of the media that they use. So he could affect it
Okay. All right.
because it's a non-sentient thing.
Okay.
I might be confusing it more than it needs to be, but the bottom line is...
I mean, I suppose at the end of the day, we're splitting hairs because the only question is does it affect things or not?
I would say that it would, because again, it's all part of sowing the discord and creating dissension within the family.
But
so it has to.
But as we just established, Black Philip does not act.
It's simply the effect of his presence in that environment has that effect on the electronics.
So you're saying the devil just fucks with electricity? His mere presence just fucks with electricity?
Why not?
Well,
You seem reluctant.
I am reluctant. We're talking about a proper mythology, a proper folklore here. It's not made up for the film. This is a traditional witch and the traditional devil.
So we do need to ask the question. I mean, I think the answer is fairly simple.
Traditionally, the devil has dominion over the earth, or at least in some interpretations of the Gospels.
Yes.
The devil has dominion over the earth, which means theoretically it would be within his ability to affect things like electronics because they're earthly creations. But not being able to act himself, he would give the power to the witch.
Okay.
Because that's very much the implication, that apart from the times the devil confounds them by appearing as a hare or causing them to have silly accidents, again, never actually acting, just enticing them to act, it's the witch's actions that directly affect the family. The crop failing, the stealing of the baby, all of that stuff is the actions of the witch. Killing the goats and stealing the children at the end.
Yes. No,
that's all the witch.
Okay. This is where I get my lack of knowledge of modern witchcraft comes in, because I can't answer that question as to whether it's something that she would be capable of doing.
Yeah, we've got a paradigm, haven't we? So we just need to find a way that fits within the paradigm to explain why this would happen.
Like the one I suggested.
Yeah, that would work.
I mean, I think there might be other ways of looking at it, but that's one possibility. That having mastery over earthly things and technology being a creation of man, being an earthly thing.
Yeah, that would work. Okay, let's do it that way.
That he could bestow that power onto the witch to harass them.
Okay. Yes. Straight away.
I know, but it's like because it does matter. It does have this paradigm.
Yes.
Like if you were talking about hocus pocus or anything like that, it would be a lot different because you're talking about Hollywoodized things, which is then you've got so much freedom in tropes and things to play with. But this is it's a particular version of the devil and a particular version of witches.
So that works.
Cool.
As we said last time, we're taking baby Samuel as well.
Yes, unfortunately, it's just necessary. We need an infant to be.
Unfortunately, especially with this one as well, because there's there's fewer children overall.
Yeah.
In the story.
Yes.
And now technically by 2, now only by 1, because you've got Jack who fills the role of the twins.
I mean, it's although their ages are like slightly different by a year or 2, the tier of adulthood through the family does correspond.
Absolutely.
To William and Catherine's family.
So just because it's just something to avoid what we had in earlier episodes, we'll just go through and just remind ourselves. So Nicolas Cage is Nathan Gardner.
Is it Teresa?
Teresa is Jodie Richardson.
That's right.
Lavinia
is the oldest daughter. Then we have
Benny and Jack.
Yes.
And Sam the dog.
Sam the dog. Oh, great. There'll be 2 Sams.
There'll be 2 Sams. Not for long.
Oh, that's very true. Very true. Very true.
And as we said before, there's the horse, which is called Comet.
That's right. Yes. Great.
And then the alpacas, one of whom now is going to be very black.
Oh yes, and yes, have a nickname.
Yes. So there's 5 alpacas, wasn't there?
I think it was 5.
So it's, as far as I remember, where they're living, the house that they're living in, it's Nathan's father's house, or it was. He does mention it at some point.
How many details am I going to miss on these movies? I wasn't aware of that. I knew, because he said, we always talked about getting away from the city. I knew that they had moved there fairly recently.
Yes.
I didn't realise it was his father's place.
Yeah, it was his father's place, and he inherited it after he died. Is the implication.
Of course.
But as you say, it's quite right, because I know at least at one point in the film somebody said "Welcome to Life in the Sticks," so they can't have been there more than 6 months to a year.
Yeah. Yeah, because he talks about next year being the year when everything happens.
Yes.
I don't know, presumably he's hoping to breed the alpacas and grow a bigger crop and everything like that. But yeah, he talks about next year being the big season.
We kind of rolled together the characters of Ward Phillips and Tommy Chong's character and Ezra to put them into The Witch.
Yes.
So I'm assuming then that we do not have those characters in this version of our new version of The Witch Out of Colour or something. I haven't decided yet. I haven't got one yet.
This is interesting. I mean, the temptation's there to have the conversation about magic.
Because so they talks about the differences between Alexandrian and Wiccan and Gardnerian and things like that, which is a legitimate argument. And it's kind of one of those things we kind of skipped over, because what the original film, of course, lacked is a self-proclaimed witch in the family, which we do have there, and it's how we first meet Lavinia.
It's practically the first scene. Or is it actually yet?
It's
practically the first scene.
You get the voiceover from Ward at the beginning with the forest and stuff, and then it goes into that scene.
Lavinia.
I mean, either way, we need to see her ritual. We need to know that she's a practicing witch.
Okay, but we're going with no Ezra, no Ward.
Well, no, that's the question.
Yes.
I'm saying either way, we definitely need to have that scene. We need to see Lavinia proceeding with the ritual. Do we just see her do it, or do we have someone interrupt? I mean, I like...
We can do it. We can do it. We can still have the scene, because that can be the moment when she loses the baby.
Well, you see, this is the thing. I mean, we do lose some of the claustrophobia, but again, with the technology that they're playing around, some of that claustrophobia isn't as acute as it is in the 16th century version.
No.
So maybe we don't need to play into that as heavily.
No, because I think it tends to rely quite effectively on the modern sensibility of I'm all right, Jack, and people don't really pay attention to what's happening to them.
Yeah. Because although both stories about the disintegration family, the witch has this claustrophobia, cabin fever aspect to it, that the world of the modern witch, it lacks that inbuilt isolation and claustrophobia. So maybe we shouldn't be leaning into that. Maybe we should be looking at other themes.
I don't think we need to too much, because I think they are, as we've said, they are quite remote. It's about 16 miles to the nearest town. And at one point he says, I mean, certainly to get to the hospital, there's an hour's drive.
Yes.
So things like that. So there is that sense of isolation inbuilt into it.
Absolutely. I just mean that the sense of claustrophobia will never be as acute as it is.
No, but it will build as it goes, as things happen. Suddenly they can't get the car to start, which is always something that happens.
Oh, right, yeah.
Those kind of things, or their phones suddenly stop working and they've lost all connection.
Well, of course. I mean, I have to admit, I've got a sneaky
purpose for mentioning that, because I'm kind of keen. I'm just realising that with a self-proclaimed witch in the family, there are themes of the ancient or primordial versus the modern. And it comes up in things like that, like the technology being confounded by magic and things like that. But with the daughter and the witch both being practitioners of magic, both very different kinds of magic.
Yes.
It feels like there's a theme there that we could lean into about the conflict between modernity and
traditionalism. Oh, that's brilliant. I hadn't even thought about that. No, that's fantastic, yeah.
And that's why it's like we can lean into the claustrophobia, because as you say, it is there, but I'm not sure that we should lean in it quite as heavily. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it would add to that whole aspect. But as I said, I have totally got an agenda there.
Okay. Okay, I can't wait. I really can't wait.
I have an agenda.
That's terrifying. But have you got...
I haven't, no.
One day he will bring it. And actually...
One day I will have a heart attack.
I will. So the next thing we need to decide then is about the witch herself.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to suggest, nice and simply, that forest is expensive. She has a hut somewhere in the middle of the forest beyond their grounds.
Yep.
And can roam pretty much where she likes.
Yeah, that's you can get lost in that.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So we go to the beginning.
So we go to the beginning.
So from the beginning we don't have Ward's voiceover.
Okay.
We can still have the voiceover we want it simply by somebody else. But I don't know who that would be because that kind of almost gives plot immunity or script immunity to the character that says it.
It's tempting to have the voiceover just because it comes from the structure of the original film.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that this story of the witch doesn't need a narrator.
No.
Much as the original story didn't need a narrator.
No, I agree.
So no, I don't think we should have that voiceover.
Okay, that's cool. So we will open then. Now, yeah, we can jump straight into it if we want to.
Mm-hmm.
As I say, you can have the opening scene being the scene with Lavinia
Yes.
doing the ritual. I said that could be the moment where Sam disappears.
But she was supposed to be watching when she does the ritual.
Yes.
Oh yes, okay. Well there you go. It immediately creates that tension.
Yeah. It's also it also creates a certain mystery as well because
it would change the nature, of course, because Thomasin was quite innocent, but this would make her doubly guilty. I mean, obviously we see her practicing witchcraft, which is transgressive, but also she was shirking her duties to her family in the process. So it sort of doubly damns her, doesn't it?
Again, the only concerns with that is it may be confusing to the audience because they don't know who this baby is. It's her baby. We don't know anything about her at the moment. So I don't know whether we need anything to establish family unit first.
You're right.
Because we don't, obviously in this one, we don't have them leaving another environment. Like the family do, like William and that do. They leave the plantation.
No, that's it. We meet the entire family in the witch before.
Yes, before they actually get to the place themselves. So it's a question there, do we need to mimic that with a scene and then leaving the city?
If not leaving the city, at least arriving at the farm.
Okay.
You know, that whole bit when they turn up in the car and everybody gets out, Dad puts his hands around everybody's shoulders and goes, it's going to be great.
It's going to be great. Yeah.
You know.
Yes.
You don't have to show the whole thing. You don't have to show them leaving their whole place.
No, that's fine. Yeah, so we literally do them arriving.
Yeah.
You can see it because then you can have an easy transition shot to the idea that time has passed. It's say 8-10 months later. The place looks tidy.
Yeah.
Lawns have been done.
Yes,
things have been
absolutely.
planted. The alpacas are there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool, and that fits with the film that
Yeah, so we show the house and the property being a little bit more overrun and dilapidated. So, and then when we cut to later, it's obvious that it's been cleaned up and
perfect. No, I like it. Okay.
You know, you don't have to say a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to say a lot in this scene. It kind of should be self-evident in the shot composition and stuff.
You could even perfect way of doing that as well. You can even have when they get there, Teresa's still pregnant.
Yes. Yes.
Which unfortunately just made me think of something that we completely overlooked in the last couple of episodes.
What?
Her cancer.
Oh, yes, we did forget about her cancer, didn't we?
It wasn't important, but there was enough going on in that one. I think it would have confused.
Absolutely, yeah, it would have. Yes.
So it's
Oh,
against.
good Lord, I forgot about that. Oh God, how foolish are we?
I know this is terrible. We even
Slap on the hand. Slap on the hand. Bad boy.
you even again. I even remember you making the allegory when we were talking about. He's saying it smells like cancer wards. And everything.
Oh, of course. Yeah, we were even talking about it.
Oh dear.
Oh dear. I'm sorry, guys. We do try, but we can't get everything. We do this all in one shoot.
Do we need it? Does it serve the story in any way at all?
It
does serve the story, and it serves the story, and it should stay here because that is the main reason for Lavinia's ritual. So yes, she is still.
Yes.
Jesus. So, I mean, that's pretty full on. Doing having a baby when she's. I mean, I'm assuming all we can say that the cancer has been diagnosed after the pregnancy or during the pregnancy.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if they ever say what type of cancer she has.
No, although there's a vague implication that it may have been breast cancer.
Okay.
There are a couple of lines that could have alluded to it. I wasn't 100% certain.
But it's easily the sort of thing that would be detected during pregnancy. It's not all that uncommon to happen.
Yeah.
Because you get so many scans during your pregnancy. So, if there's something there, there's a reasonable chance it'll
All
be
of them will
picked
pick it up. Yeah. Okay. So that works.
Yeah.
So there's an opening shot with them arriving, those kind of things, and we flick it a few months later. We can even throw in heading out with the horse, probably not riding the horse, probably leading the horse.
Yeah.
Carrying.
Carry on.
And then Mum goes, takes Harry on. Well, I suppose she's just supposed to be looking after him.
Yeah.
Can even have it tied in. Is that a sarong or whatever they call it?
Papoose, you mean?
Papoose, that's the word I'm looking for.
Wait, there's one around the front and there's one around the back. I think the papoose is around the front. I think the papoose is around the front.
It's children.
Again, I'm sure somebody out there will be happy to correct us on this.
Yeah, heading out because she's got to get back upstairs because she's got another meeting.
Yes. Yes, of course, yes, she's got her business and that's why she needs someone to look after the baby.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and so we see Lavinia heading out to the ritual location.
Yeah.
And probably sort of laying him, because I seem to remember there was sort of a bit of a clearing near the lake and there were a couple of rocks, so maybe she sat him up on one of the rocks or something like that.
I'd say probably a bit too young to sit him up on the rock in case he rolled off.
Oh, no, that's true.
So probably...
You can tell I know lots about this, can't you?
It could be near the rocks, just at the base of them, so he can't roll too far. And he's not too near the shore.
Yeah. It just needs to be that we need to see her put him down in a relatively safe place, so that when it comes up later, we all know that he was there.
Yes. Because we don't see Benny yet. We don't even need to see Nathan at this point.
Which means presumably we'd have to take care to shoot the ritual scene so that it never shows Samuel in the background. Or no, it should, and then suddenly it shouldn't.
Either that, or similar to how they did it in the film, but the other side, because we see a lot of it from his perspective, don't we? With sort of looking up at her and then looking down the peekaboo and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So you could have her doing the ritual, and we could just hear him gurgling and making noise in the background, and then it just stops.
Oh yeah, that's even better. I like that.
So you've got that going on in the background. She's building up. She gets to the end of the ritual. And there's that moment of silence, and then you suddenly notice there's no sound of the baby.
Yeah.
And it takes her a few seconds before she suddenly realises.
I like things like that where you're using the sound
to implicate things. Yes, I like it. Yes, totally agree.
So yeah, she notices it gone. Runs around, no sign of it. You get that cut away to the witch running away to the woods.
And of course, it's interestingly because it's supposed to be the same place. It's the same state.
Oh, it's all New England. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, it's the fictional county of Arkham, but apart from that, it is meant to be New England.
Which it just tickles me when we picked those two. They are set in exactly basically, they could be set in the same piece of woods.
I noticed something, and I haven't quite got to that bit yet, but it was something that I noticed, which I thought, I know you will find hilarious. Well, hopefully. You probably won't now. Now that I've built it up. There's the bit later on where they're talking about where there's the weather report on the TV.
Yes.
And they're talking about storm moving in and all that kind of thing.
Of course, yes, before the lightning storm.
And it mentions 5 places. If you listen to what the audio says, or what the weatherman on the TV says.
I remember hearing Dunwich. I remember hearing Miskatonic.
No, I wrote them down, so it's Arkham.
Yeah. Give me a chance to have a try.
Oh, sorry.
No, you wrote it. Go on, read your list.
Yes, Arkham, Dunwich, Amesbury, Kingsport, and the weatherman on the programme says Innsmouth.
Innsmouth, of course, yes.
But what's actually written on the screen along the top of the towns is Arkham, Dunwich, Amesbury, Kingsport, and Ipswich.
I did not notice that.
Yeah.
Although there is an Ipswich in New England.
But that's the one that they pronounce Innsmouth.
Oh.
Right, okay.
And it's like...
somebody missed a trick there?
I think so, yeah. Yes, so from now and forever, Ipswich is Innsmouth.
Well, you see, this is the funny thing. Knowing that Richard Stanley has spent quite a bit of time living in London, was he cheekily referring to our Ipswich?
Possibly.
I also happen to know that he's spent time around Norwich.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have had the pleasure of meeting the man once.
Really?
Yeah, I actually spent the night at his flat when he was living in London. It was fanboys heaven. It was full of props from his movies and signed posters by people like Coffin Joe and Angus Scrim.
Wow.
I just spent so much time geeking out at him. He thought it was hilarious.
But yes, I do wonder, because I think he lived in London for at least 3 or 4 years. And so now he spent time in Norfolk and around Norwich, and I just wonder if he was making a cheeky reference to Ipswich.
But yeah, it was just something that I noticed. But anyway, so back to the story.
Yes.
So Lavinia freaks out, jumps back on the horse, can't find any hide or hair of him.
No, and she'd probably ride around, she has the horse, so this would probably be a more extended sequence than her just standing in the field looking around.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is good, adds some tension to it, and it helps to redeem her. After having just shirked her duties, it gives It gives her more saving graces that she's actually making a genuine effort to search for Samuel.
Yes, exactly. Yes, and that would serve quite well to replace anything that we would have lost in terms of time and in terms of the running time of the film.
Yes, it
So
would.
yeah, it extends that nice little scene there, both. And again, a chance for some wonderful sort of scenic shots of the landscape and things like that, because that's one of the things that's
Missing a little bit.
yeah,
A little bit. There are quite a few nice shots, but they tend to be those cutaway shots when they're showing the isolation, whereas obviously in The Witch, that constant landscape was a constant presence.
Well, in almost
that
every shot
kind
that
of ominous kind of
it was lurked. There was always the woods looming over
yes,
him.
yeah.
Always.
There is nothing for miles around.
Yeah.
Or not even for hundreds of miles around, because there's nobody here.
No. Yeah, there's just nobody here, which of course you don't quite get from the landscapes in the
So from there,
Yes.
now I can't remember what comes first. Is it the reaction of the family? Because the next bit is when
in The Witch cuts to a week later, and
is that? Well, I was never quite sure of the time scale. I knew it was a bit later. I didn't realise it was
because
a week.
Caleb gets up, mother is praying and sobbing in bed,
Yes.
and he goes out and his father's finding that the harvest is wrecked.
Mm-hmm.
That's the next cutaway, and then at some point it's been 7 days since Samuel was lost. Our search must stop soon. It's when his father's talking to Caleb, so it would be presumably a conversation between Nathan and if we do that scene, it would be a conversation between Nathan and Benny, presumably.
I thought we got so in that case. Then, so isn't it the scene the mashing? Because doesn't that happen?
No,
Does
yes,
that happen
the
the
scene
same-
with the witch itself and the flying scene.
Yes.
No, I forgot about
Yes,
that.
because
You're
that's
right.
I think I always
'Cause
assumed
that
that was
is
supposed to be the same night.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. Yes, it is.
Which did make me wonder. I'm going to hell. I'm so sorry.
I don't know what he's talking about. Oh,
Is it the mashing, or is it properly, as we're in the 21st century, is it properly a baby smoothie?
well, I think that's what she was trying to achieve. But thank you for that image, you vile person, you.
We're almost a week away from Halloween.
Yeah.
So you're the one, there is.
But what she was doing, if we're going to think that way, yes. What she was doing was a 16th century equivalent of a smoothie.
But at the same time, I
Only she
suppose-
didn't drink it.
Yeah, exactly. I think you were probably right. This comes back into what you were saying earlier about the differences between the different paradigms. She being a traditionalist would probably be the same.
Yes, because I like that. She's that traditional hag doing the very traditional spells as they were.
It works because you have to do it this way.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's one of the pieces of magic that was most very firmly defined in folklore was how witches flew, was creating a potion from the fat of unbaptized children.
Mm-hmm. So that would again pretty much.
Yeah, of all of their magics, that's the most thoroughly documented in the folklore.
Yes.
So we know exactly how that spell works.
I must admit, after the first time I watched the film, I didn't pick up on the. I remember smearing herself and all of this, but I didn't notice the broomstick.
Yes. That's it.
They've done the whole hog. It's like Jesus. So that would be unfortunately exactly the same.
Yeah. Right, so as in its full disgustingness.
Mm-hmm.
It should be interesting because it'd be a much more stark contrast with the general lightness of the Gardner family.
Yes.
I mean, compared to William's family in The Witch, they are a much lighter people.
Mm-hmm.
Even with their problems of props and cancer and things like that, they are much lighter-hearted people. And then the sheer grimness of what happens there is just like such a whoa.
Exactly. We see
Have a greater shock value, I think.
it will have a great shock value, and it's a nice foil for the stress they put under in their original film, which is more gradual to get going.
Yes.
This is immediate. They don't have their faith to take succor and take strength from because they're not a particularly religious family.
Yes.
They're a modern family. How they would have reacted to Lavinia, that's going to be different because it was in her care. She's the eldest. I'm assuming she's the eldest.
I think so. The way they treat her, even though she's smaller than Benny, she acts as if she's the eldest.
Yeah.
It's never explicit, but they seem very close in age, but I think she's meant to be the eldest.
Mm-hmm.
Because she does tell him what to do a lot.
Yeah. We have slightly strayed because we're talking about general stuff here.
A little bit, but we're getting.
But
to the tricky part.
it's important
Because this is where I realised we're replacing what was the landing
Mm-hmm.
and the event, which of course happens at night. Are we going to attempt to replace that, or are we just going to let the witch's actions replace that? Because
Well,
that is pretty shocking and has a similar effect to the arrival of the comet.
Yes, it's, that would
cover.
that would serve that purpose perfectly. And if we're cutting forward to a week ahead,
Mm-hmm.
you can even cheek in parallels of the visit from the press. Again, because at this point the baby is missing.
Yes.
It's not like it's not like in The Witch where baby's been missing for a couple of days in that forest. It's dead.
Yes.
We have to get on with it. Whereas here, it's like, is the baby alive?
So this would be like the part, not the next morning, but when the news van arrives to interview him.
Okay. So this does unfortunately bring into another thing as well. A baby has gone missing in woods. Something like that, you would have all of the community out combing the forest.
Absolutely, and perhaps we could show that in a montage. We don't have to necessarily cut.
Okay.
But I do think we need the time jump. Because this is the thing, Teresa is a different woman from Catherine. She's not likely to lie in bed crying and praying. I mean, I'm not saying that she wouldn't cry, but I mean the constant prayer, things like that.
No.
I'm imagining there would be a mixture of concern, but slowly trying to turn herself maybe away to work. I don't know. But she would have a different reaction to Catherine, even though we should probably see what it is.
She wants to be out there. She wants to be looking. It's her child. She wants to find it. But she is so weak because of her illness. The only thing that she can throw herself into is her work.
Brilliant. So all we need to do is show that in a brief montage.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be terribly long.
And again, I suppose we're then allowing that the witch's power over the earth that is afforded to her allows her to remain undiscovered by the search parties.
Yes, I think so.
Cool.
Yeah. But also 16 miles of wood.
Yeah.
Just if you imagine that going in every direction, you couldn't find a baby.
Yeah.
Even with hundreds of people searching for a week. But after 7 days, the chances of a child surviving any kind of exposure are nearly zero.
Yeah.
So even in the modern context, people will be going, I don't know if we're going to find your baby.
And of course, within these
I mean, the police would keep looking, but they wouldn't be doing the constant search. After 7 days, they're not going to be hoping to find the baby lying in the woods somewhere.
And you'd say, and any neighbours or anything, or people from the village or from the town, same they think they'll be out for the first couple of days, and then the longer it goes on, the less people will be turning up.
People get tired.
Which again, you can show
have
as
their
well.
own lives to deal with.
And of course, within all of this, we will be seeing Nathan's equivalent of going out chopping wood when he can't do anything with the bottle.
Maybe we could show like a brief sequence, like a whole bunch of people just getting lost in the woods for no good reason.
Yeah.
Because people do keep getting lost in the woods.
They do, yeah.
It is a thing. It's a thing that happens. You turn around and suddenly you can't find your way home.
Can't find your way home. Yeah, that is true. Oh, that would be
It'd be a nice little, foreshadowing things that are about to occur. This is it's just beginning to go wrong, but nobody's noticing because they think, probably an idiot, he didn't know his way in the first place, or whatever. It's the sort of thing that would be easily overlooked, but little details in the background showing her influence without actually showing her actions. And nice.
And it also, again, coming back into this thing about...
Because we don't have their fear of the witch.
No.
So we need to build up that fear because this modern family doesn't have that same God-fearing, devil-fearing, oh God, they might,
No, they don't. But the people who live there and have lived there all their lives may...
Oh, that's true. That's true. It's in England.
Yes, exactly. So what I'm thinking is if you're having this with people getting lost in the woods, suddenly they don't want to help them. And that underlying kind of sense of menace that actually something is going on here. They never talk about it, but they just know, no, we're good. Oh, we're busy tonight.
Yes.
We just leave well alone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But a nice little montage.
It's nice because it fits in with obviously the history, as you just said, the history of New England and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it also fits in quite well as being slightly Lovecraftian as well. That's going with blinkers on.
Yes,
because it's best not to look.
Yeah, best not to try. Yeah.
So it's a week later.
Yes, it is.
We've done this montage thing, and they're trying to get back to normal.
So instead of Catherine crying, we see her struggling to maintain her internet connection in the attic.
Yeah, or even, and also within that, it's similar to the original film, getting things wrong because her mind's not on the ball.
Exactly, absolutely. Yeah, just little mistakes slipping in
Yeah.
and things like that. And I kind of want to do one of those lovely little swooping camera tricks where you go out the window of the attic and down onto the, because it's a tomato field, isn't it? He's growing. Is the biggest crop. That's the biggest focus in the film.
Yes, it's
I know
yes.
he's supposed to have had a couple of other things. Because
You
there were
mentioned
peaches and
peaches
things.
as well, yeah.
But the
tomatoes
tomato
and
plant seems like the best.
Yeah.
Because you'll see, it's obvious the blight on tomatoes. You'll see it straight
Yes.
away. You know, and so maybe swoop out of the window and down to him talking to Benny.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe even asking Benny if the alpacas have been getting into the vegetable patch and I don't know, peeing on things and stuff like that. Because a lot of animal pee's got a really strong ammonia in it that can really kill plants.
Yeah. Do we want then to have something that serves as a parallel for the apple, which is a very big motif in The Witch?
Well, we have to choose then. I mean, the most obvious choices would be the apple or the peach. Now, well, not the apple. I mean, the tomato or the peach.
Yeah.
In certain mythologies, peach has an association with wisdom and understanding.
That could work.
So perhaps the taint of the, yeah.
So you're saying a parallel to...
And of course, peach is a very sought after thing. It's juicy. It's difficult to grow. It's it's got all sorts of things to it. It's yeah. I think it would be a good replacement for the apple.
It's how we figure it in there, because the whole point of the thing is that he lies and says then he thought he'd seen some apples out in the forest, and that's where we went to go and get. That's because he mentioned that's the whole. Because I know.
Oh, you're talking about the whole excuse for the excursion.
Yes.
All right, I was still focused on the actual conversation in the vegetable patch, but yes, I see what you mean. The excuse for the excursion. Maybe this is when we establish the fact that the alpacas keep escaping. Maybe that's why they go into the woods.
To go and track them down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or at least maybe that's the excuse he gives.
Mm-hmm.
But certainly we could establish then that the alpacas keep escaping or keep getting out of their pens. Because that's one of the things we do need to establish, because the number of times
they get out all the time.
Get away from Black Phillip, put them back in his pen.
Yeah.
At least 3 or 4 times throughout the film that they're forced to put the goats back in their pen forcibly, especially Black Phillip.
Yeah.
And we need to establish the presence of Black Phillip. We've been focusing on the family at the moment, and we need to establish that there is actually, these are animals with names.
Yes.
And they've got personalities, and we need to establish that. Otherwise it will start to seem weird the later we put it into the story.
Plus with Jack there as well.
Talking to Black Phillip. Talking about, the games he plays with Black Phillip or whatever, or singing the song.
And if we take his motif of what he does about drawing things.
Yes, maybe he draws pictures of Black Phillip instead of singing songs about him. Yes, okay, I like that. That's good. And that's a very modern child's way of communicating. Yeah.
And so he's doing that, and maybe some of the images, this looks like he's got horns.
Yep. Yeah.
Again,
yeah,
you just see it. You
little
just
hints
see
and
it.
suggestions.
It's slightly blurred out, but it's there. There's something not right about his pictures.
Oh, that reminds me. There's another thing. A lovely little thematic connection. But the iris of a goat.
Mm-hmm.
Did you not notice that alpaca has an almost identical
iris? It does. Yes, I did. Yes.
It has the weird goat eyes.
Yep, definitely.
I remember watching that when I was watching the colour, because I watched it after I rewatched The Witch.
Yeah.
And it was that's practically Black Phillip's eye, just their normal eye.
Yeah, that works. That works. It could also be that the alpacas are getting out in this one because Jack keeps letting them out.
It could be.
It's never. It doesn't really. Don't even need to address it. It's a possibility because he's always hanging around.
I always felt that there was at least a reasonable implication that most of the escapes of the goats were the responsibility of Mercy and Jonas.
Mm-hmm.
They liked playing with Black Phillip.
Yeah.
They liked dancing around with him.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they were letting him out. So yes, it does make sense that Jack would be doing it. And Benny would be getting the blame for it.
It's a different one as well because we don't get...
Because we can put more responsibility on Benny because he is 14 or 15.
Yes. But we don't get...
So Nathan can lean on him in terms of responsibility harder, and it would create more of that conflict in the family.
Jack, as we see him within the family unit, there isn't that antagonism between him and his siblings as there is between the twins and Thomason and Caleb in The Witch. So how do we...
Well, I didn't think that was a problem because that antagonism came out between Lavinia and Benny.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
Because they're so close together, they bicker all the time. And Jack's the quiet one with his weird little stories and imaginations and things.
Yeah. And chatting to the
I mean, he's still the odd child, and he still fills that generational position
I did
in
at one.
the family.
I did at one point think, is he talking to the witch in the well? There is a well.
Well, the children, the twins were the first ones to start talking about the witch in the woods.
Yes.
They were the ones who jumped out of the bushes by the river.
They were.
And said, "I am the witch of the woods."
Mm-hmm.
So yes. So we can still have that scene of him sitting on the lawn.
Yeah.
I don't know if whistling is the right thing to do, but something, maybe just murmuring under his breath and talking.
So.
Yes.
So if we go, that would work really well at the point where.
I like it because it's just a damn creepy image.
Yeah, where they're looking at the crops.
Mm-hmm.
And Nathan's getting a bit frustrated because the tomatoes aren't growing.
Yeah.
Or they're withered. It's a bad crop. As you said, they've got blight. Benny's there, and then you've just got Jack sitting on the lawn, like talking to his friend as well.
Just in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's more of a slow burn, but that's fine because the context is so different.
Yeah.
It's not a direct accusation of there's a witch.
As long as we can...
But we get the idea that something is happening.
We keep the fact that this is the aftermath of a very traumatic event, so everybody is kind of treading on eggshells with everybody else.
Yeah.
Through all of this. As long as that is very evident in the subtext of the narrative of the film.
Yeah.
Then, yeah, that works brilliantly.
Yeah.
We still, again, we haven't got a parallel at the moment for the Silver Cup, and we still haven't got a parallel of the lie about going into the woods.
You're right. We should have addressed that earlier on. Right. Well, we're just now addressing the trip into the woods, so that's why we haven't addressed the lie yet.
Yes.
But the Silver Cup. So, as well as possibly being his father's thing, there's very much a sense that Nathan sunk an awful lot of money into that property. They have a satellite internet connection.
They do.
Those are not cheap.
No, that's true.
Those are not cheap. I'm wondering if the metaphor for the Silver Cup might be the satellite connection that is still not working.
Okay, yes, that works. He's promised to fix it.
Yes.
And he hasn't. He's gone off and done something with Benny.
But you spent so much of my money or our whatever,
yeah.
Our savings, our whatever. Because that's the thing is there is no literal equivalent to a silver cup in the modern age. Because so many things are easily replaceable in a mass-produced era.
Yeah.
But something like our savings, which took us 15 years to save, or something like that, that's the silver cup.
Yeah.
So we need to see that he's sunk a ridiculous amount of money either into the alpacas or into that satellite system.
That could even be it. That could be it. That he's sunk all of this money into the alpacas and hasn't actually told her how much he sunk into it.
Yeah.
And she finds out.
That's the silver cup. Yeah. Yeah, the metaphor doesn't work in the modern context.
No, it doesn't.
Find a new silver cup.
Yeah.
So maybe that's it. Maybe it's their savings or their joint bank account that he's raided or something that he's done without telling her.
Maybe it's that she knows
cup.
how much he's initially paid for the alpacas, but they've actually proved to be more difficult to keep.
She keeps talking about hemorrhaging clients. So she's not making as much money. Maybe she has to go and get a bit of money from the joint account to
pay for the
family bills.
Yeah.
And hang on, where's that $25,000? Where's that $50,000? That's the modern equivalent.
Mm-hmm.
It's $20,000. It's my savings. That's
what
the silver cup is now.
Gone on vet's bills for the alpacas because of the influence of Black Phillip.
Oh, that's even better. It just makes it a slightly more insidious. It's been eaten away.
Yes.
So we can have a scene with her, going to make a withdrawal from the joint savings account or whatever, and finding that I'm not able to withdraw that much. Like maybe she decides, I need a couple of grand to tide us over, and she goes and there's not $2,000 in there or something like that.
Yeah.
What do you mean? There should have been 15,000. There should have been whatever it was.
So
we can decide what number is
that's
appropriate.
That's fine. So we've got that nailed down, but we need to again establish why they've wandered off. That leads to the lie about the beaches.
Right. Okay. I'm getting slightly confused.
It's because
we know the alpacas keep getting out. What I was suggesting
was that
the lie might in fact be that the alpacas got out and wandered into the woods, and we've been looking for them.
That's fine. The only reason why I was trying to bring it back to the peaches, or
Because I don't think Nathan is a guy who would hunt.
No, I agree. The only reason, and again, this comes back to what you were saying before about this being a traditional folk tale, is the whole point about the lie about the apples comes full circle, if you like, because when Halo comes back, he coughs up.
Oh, and that's why you'd like it to be about the
He
peaches.
he coughs up the rotten apple.
Okay.
That's what I'm thinking.
See, the weird thing is that they already have peaches in their harvest.
That's the thing. Yes.
So it kind of doesn't make sense. Or maybe
You can throw it.
No. Maybe we saw someone poaching scrumping our peaches
Mm-hmm.
and chased them off into the woods, but we lost them.
Perfect.
So we still have the connection to the peaches
Yeah.
and to the avarice and covetousness
Yeah.
of not allowing people to
Take our property. Yeah. Yeah, that works. I like it.
which brings the sin into that, because that's, I mean, there are plenty of sins in the gardener family, but it's nice to add a couple of extras if you can find the excuse.
Yeah.
So maybe a lie back. So they go off into the woods to search for the alpacas, even though they're not supposed to go out that far.
Yeah.
And it's somebody was stealing.
Yeah.
Or somebody on our property stealing and
Because,
chased them off into the woods, because we don't have Ezra, so they're not that kind of family anymore.
No, they're not.
They don't have a squatter that they tolerate.
No. Yeah. Absolutely. No, that I like it. I like that a lot.
Yeah. There we
Um,
go. Solve that one.
because at this point, for a while, we don't see really much what's happening with the witch herself. It's all about what's going on with the family.
Yes. At this point, it's about the breakdown of the relationships.
Yes.
It's when the niggles start to dig in.
Do we, at this point, we want to start seeding in, as the family start to turn in on themselves, them taking more interest in what it is that Lavinia does, in the fact that she's practicing witch? Or are we still saying they've got that modern sensibility that it's just a bit of fun?
I think their ignorance helps.
Yeah.
Especially if we're leaning into that theme between the dichotomy of modernity and traditionalism.
Mm-hmm.
They've got the modern outlook, which is going to be idly dismissive. She's doing that. Okay, that's fine. It's like dyeing your hair green or whatever. It's a stage.
Yeah.
It's a phase. They're not concerned about it.
Yeah.
And of course, deep down, we are discovering that magic is a thing. And
Also, just from watching, we're saying, well, yes, but all of these very traditionally, these traditional associations with witchcraft, as the failing crops, all of those kind of things, these things are all happening around them, but it just shows how blind we are to it.
Yeah.
Or how blind a modern family would be to that.
Yeah. So I think they should be like, at best they should treat it like your punk phase. I think is how they should treat it. It's like maybe there might be a small conversation between the parents, like, oh, is she out there doing that again? No, it's okay. She'll be fine.
So at this point then, at what point then do we want to say that Lavinia starts to notice it? Because she does know this stuff. She knows modern witchcraft, obviously.
She would know. When would she start to notice? Let's see. I mean, right. So we've gone into the woods. Is Nathan going to injure himself in the woods then?
He would have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's going to trip over something, chasing one of the alpacas or something, and twist his ankle badly.
So do we have an equivalent then of the black hair? We need to have that in there, because that's eventually what Benny will follow, that takes him to the witch.
So maybe maybe when they find one of the alpacas, and he's getting close to it, it's like, and he's almost gotten to the point where he can maybe get his hands on its rein, its rope, whatever, and then there's their hair, and it's just staring. Yeah,
so we're going to keep the hair.
I think we need to keep the hair, because it's the folklore.
Mm-hmm.
The hair needs to be there. That's a manifestation of Black Phillip.
Okay.
And this is a point in time where we don't know the location of Black Phillip, so it's more thematic sense.
It does.
And it's the hair freaking out the alpaca that causes the accident.
Yeah, the alpaca rears up.
In the same way that the second time we see the hair and the horse freaks out and drops Thomasin.
Yeah.
You have
It has the same reaction to the alpaca.
same reaction. He falls over, trips backwards over a log, twists his ankle, has to hobble back out of the woods.
Yeah, that works. and then they get back to the house.
Mm-hmm.
Mum is having a moment. Maybe there's been maybe in that
She's
time,
made some mistakes, but some of the internet hasn't been working.
yeah, she's found out about the money, possibly even a call from the sheriff that they're scaling back the search even more. So it's that kind of that proper kind of, that they've abandoned hope.
Yeah.
And looks for something to take it out on Nathan about, and then all of this comes out. She said, "We found out about that. She's found out that the money's gone. Where's it gone? What have you done with it?"
Oh, right, okay. Going back to what we were talking about how the parents feel about Lavinia's witchcraft, maybe this is where it could come to a head. So maybe in the earlier conversation, Teresa brings it up as a point of concern, and Nathan says, it's fine, it's just a phase, she'll be fine.
Yes.
And then later on, then Teresa can start niggling, and it's like, it's not healthy, these obsessions.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't necessarily have to be a religious rant, but like maybe she thinks it's psychologically unhealthy or whatever, but she just latches onto it. And besides, if you hadn't been indulging in that fucking rubbish...
Yeah. You wouldn't have taken your eye off the ball. And
she doesn't even have to finish the sentence. The entire family knows what this means.
Yes.
Kind of mic drop moment.
Yeah.
Silence around the table. And that's when it starts to build into that moment of...
I love that, because we can do that in place of...
It replaces the cup.
In place of...
But we can still have that. She can still be niggling about the money as well as...
No. I love it because, yes, we've basically covered two separate scenes there in one.
Mm-hmm.
We covered the scene about all the stuff to do with the cup. We've covered the stuff to do with them going into the woods.
Yeah.
And the lie about the apple, in this case the peaches. But we can do this within a context that is a direct lift from the original film, because we've seen how much of a loving family they are when they're around the dinner table.
Yes.
So this all happens around the dinner table, and it shows a completely different side to the family.
Yeah, just starting to show the breakdown of the relationships.
Yeah, I love it.
Because I'm in my mind, in this newer version, I mean, although the paranoia and cabin fever is relevant and part of the story, the two strongest themes for me are the breakdown of relationships and that dichotomy between modernity and tradition.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the other half of that theme. This is the breakdown of the relationships.
Yes.
The fabric's starting to fray.
Absolutely.
And we've already had those montages of unity and stuff earlier in the film.
Plus, when you include those kind of smaller elements, like the fact that the police are scaling back the search and all this kind of thing, it's an underlying sense of isolation again.
Yes.
We're on our own. This is the point where we have to deal with a group when there's not cops turning up all the time to find out, see if you heard anything.
And this is kind of nice, because what we get to do at this point, if we want to, is kind of do what they did in the film and separate the family across what is a much bigger house in this modern version.
Yes.
Therefore, just doubling down on that isolation and disconnection. It doesn't matter what we see. I mean, I'm trying to remember what happens next in The Witch. Does it just end? Does that argument end? And then William goes out and chops wood.
Yes. So then it would be...
So what does Nathan... No, Nathan drinks. Of course
Nathan drinks and sits in front of the TV.
We know what Nathan does.
Yes.
We know what Nathan's sin is. Then we can start to bring in some of the effects on the technology at this point again.
Exactly, yeah.
The signal going a bit funny, maybe some funny images appearing.
Yeah.
Obviously, these wouldn't be Necronomicon images. They would be more traditional witchcraft images, maybe runes or something, perhaps.
Ooh, yeah.
That would appear in the static.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Because at this point, her influence is starting to become felt.
Yes.
And we need to see it as well as the breakdown of the actual fabric of the family, that there is something.
There is something supernatural happening.
Yeah.
Yes. That would work, and we've already established about the crops, which will go on later on.
Yeah.
Again, obviously, we do lose something here because it's a modern family, or the crops are... Yes, okay, it's a thing.
The crops are
failing.
they're not at risk of starvation.
No, because they just go to the fridge and... Yeah.
But they're at risk of losing their money and their business and therefore their livelihood. So there is a desperation to it. But it's not the same desperation. It's not the desperation of starvation. It's the desperation of destitution.
So we've established that the witch, or Blackbird, has afforded the gift of the earth to affect things, which includes affecting technology.
Yes.
So at this point, you can have, say, for example, I imagine it's Benny goes to the fridge. Food spoiled.
Food spoiled, milk's turned.
Yeah.
I only got it this morning.
Yeah.
Yes, I like that. Because we separated them around the house, so Dad's drinking, watching funny symbols on the TV.
Yeah.
Benny's making himself a sandwich in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Goes to get some milk. Takes a drink of his milk.
Yeah.
Takes a bite of his sandwich.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it.
I think even this one hasn't felt so far hasn't felt as linear. We've not gone scene by scene by scene. We've been looking at elements.
No, because it's because color has a structure to that's defined by the family that we have there, and then we've got to introduce the witch, which has certain scenes,
need to
and we've
find
got
out how we weave them. So
this
one I think
weave our wicked webs.
This one is going to feel more like how do we overcome these problems as opposed to how do these individual scenes play out.
It's what I thought at the beginning. I'll be honest.
I must admit, yes, I hadn't. I thought it'd be a lot easier than this. But it seems like this is going to be the case with this particular one, and we'll see how this develops. But I think this seems like a good place to.
I feel like we're heading towards second half / Act 2.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that's a great point to stop.
Cool, excellent. So thank you again for joining us for this episode of Maybe Movies. Please come back and join us next week for the finale of whatever this incredible cauldron of ideas is. And obviously don't forget about the competitions in the beginning of the episode for more about that or the description, and we will be back same time next week probably, or maybe a bit later or earlier depending on when I can get everything done.
Of course. And as always, guys, if you have anything to say about what we've said here, please comment, but otherwise please like, share, subscribe, or as we like to say,
like, subscribe. And also, again, I must admit, I think I might have forgotten at the beginning, so do forgive me. There was one other shout out I had to do, which is to our subscribers. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, everybody.
Yes, it really means a lot to us. It means everything to us. The fact that you come back and watch our videos.
Yeah.
And long may it continue. See you next time.
Cheerio, folks. TTFN.
Ba 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 ba.